thank you very much. It was lovely to start with the next webinar. Yes, so before we can start and get into all the sessions, it's important for us to know what this conclave is about and the organization behind this Bizzbuzz Business Conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have been telling, this has been organized by
in association with the World Trade Center, Visakhapatnam. This is exclusively to discuss, to exchange the information, to assess the business ideas, and also to make sure we assess the right potential in the city of Visakhapatnam. Thereby, Hans will serve and foster all the entrepreneurial spirits in everybody who visits here, and that is going to help millions of people around the world. And let's be here, participate, learn from this, and let's make this conclave a huge hit, and also let's make Visakhapatnam a city for investments, a city for business. So since I have run you all through, Hans, let's see what this organization about through a video. Can we have the organizational AV on the screen, please?
Crossing the decade milestone is a moment of pride for the Hans India. It wants to share these happy moments with readers, advertisers and patronizers. The 10-year-old journey began with an intention to serve the people who were wholesome and unbiased news. This year the Hyderabad Media House limited to launch the Hans India simultaneously from Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, Gujarat, Bangalore and Tirupati on July 16, 2011. Since then, the Hans India embarked on an aggressive marketing campaign driven by the credible editors who serve the newspaper of the lowest songs the country was known to. The launch took off under the leadership of veteran journalist Mr. K. Ramachandramurthy, who took the newspaper from the Telangana movement to separate statehood. Later, Mr. K. Nanda and Professor K. Nanda Kishore took the editorship during the advised for about 2 years. Current editor, Mr. SHARMA continues to connect with the readers by taking up issues that matter to them the most. The Hans India has 7 editions in the 2 Telugu states and 1 edition in the national capital to reach Telugu's policymakers and opinion leaders. Hyderabad, Vara and Telangana or Amaravati, Visakhapatnam, Tirupati and Bangalore in Andhra Pradesh. The Hans India has built up over 3 lakh editions. It has started to attract readers from Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore and Chennai. With the growing readership over a broad spectrum, the Hans India has launched 2 papers writing for digital trends. The 5th edition with special focus on Bangalore. The second one on the entrepreneurs of Bizzbuzz. The business section will explore all aspects from startups, macroeconomy to information for small investors.
Most of the media outlets that we go on business news are based in Delhi or Bombay, but I don't believe in it that Bizzbuzz means headquartered in Hyderabad. The local industry, the local entrepreneurs will also get the opportunity, visibility, and I also hope that we can play an active role in engaging the government.
Unbiased content serving various sections of society, especially the marginalized society and rural regions, not involved in the urban happenings. The urban content is amply covered in city and stages, which is the source on diaspora from abroad, and the articles from experienced experts in the field is the hallmark of the Hans India. An exclusive section commonly covers various aspects of the movement. Young Hans provides a space for journalists to be utility news from education to opportunities. Illustrated sports pages give priority to the local news as important as popular links from the range of sports. interactions from the administration of development program, the hands and back. Giving platforms to women and young aspirants to showcase their talents by organizing contests like the Healthy RAMA, focus on the broad needs of technique using with the hands only, where visitors to the training centers give ratings to the level of apprentice and draw a dream switch on Vara for better tomorrow. Hands in the air, your needs partner.
Thank you very much. A huge round of applause for Hans for celebrating 10 years.
Yes, a huge round of applause and welcome claps for Mr. Narendra, the former IOB CMD is here, and also Mr. Nanda Kishore Reddy, MD APTS Group, CEO APEITA AP is also here. A huge round of applause for both Mr. Narendra Garu and Mr. Nanda Kishore Garu. Hearty welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this conclave is going to last till tomorrow, and during all the sessions, we are going to talk about the topics like information technology, electronics, tourism, startups, pharmaceutical sector, and petrochemical sectors, agri, food processing, and shipping and logistics. And now, for the welcome address, may I call upon the Chief Editor, SHARMA Vara, the Chief Editor of Hans. Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Dignitaries on the dais, and all the dignitaries who are sitting in front of the dais, on behalf of the Hans India, Bizzbuzz, and Hyderabad Media House, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this conclave. And this conclave assumes importance not only because it is being held on the beach front and in the city of destination Visakhapatnam, but it assumes importance because we are sitting at the feet of Sri Vara Lakshmi Narasimha Swami, who is the main deity at Simhachalam. I am sure the Lord would bless all of us in making this conclave a real platform to share ideas and profit from them. Having said that, let me give you a brief insight about the Hans India newspaper, which is a popular and fastest growing English daily with 8 editions across the 2 Telugu states. Just now we have seen an audio and video, so I will not dwell much into it. The Hans India was launched in 2011 with an intention to serve the Telugus, and since then it has been playing a pioneering and constructive role in highlighting the issues of importance and immediacy in political, business, sports, education, and all other spheres. I'm happy to inform you that in July 21, the Hans India crossed the decade milestone, and in its decade-long journey, the Hans India has carved a niche for itself and has been recognized by our readers as a newspaper with a difference. It is the only English newspaper which believes in local to global coverage. The urban content is amply covered in pages of City Hans, which has been the source of our strength in reaching our readers. Not just that much. Besides the national news, with special focus on diaspora from abroad, in-depth articles from experienced experts in the field are the hallmark of Hans India. Again, it is the only newspaper which has an exclusive section every day for women called Womania. Since today's youth and are tomorrow's leaders, ours is the only newspaper which has a dedicated page for youngsters. Young Hans provides a space for Gen Next, giving utility news from education to opportunities. For those interested in sports, it has illustrated sports pages. Keeping in tune with the fast-changing trends in media, we recently launched the Bengaluru edition of the Hans India in e-paper format. The Bizzbuzz, which is today's buzzword, is the third and most ambitious media project that the Hyderabad Media House has taken up so far. Being a project with national goal, it plays a pioneering and constructive role in highlighting the issues of importance and immediacy in business and political spheres in power corridors of Delhi. It is in this backdrop that we are all here to participate in the two-day conclave, which is being organized in association with the World Trade Center and Andhra Pradesh as the participating state to showcase the business potential of Visakhapatnam. We are sure that this conclave will witness an impressive representation from a cross-section of business sectors and will provide valuable insights and perspectives on the business opportunities that exist in this state. Once again, I extend a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sriram Garu. And may I now call upon the head of Asia Pacific, Mr. Scott Wong of World Trade Center Association. He'll be joining us virtually. Can we have Mr. Scott Wong's video on the AV, please?
The buildings are iconic, landmarks of international commerce, but the World Trade Centers Association is much more. It is an ecosystem of world trade, a highly connected, mutually supporting network of global members.
The World Trade Center is an incredible and unique organization. It's rooted in very grassroots-based companies and organizations, but at the same time, we've got this incredible global network.
The brand itself also gives you international cachet. For many companies, that is critically important.
The ideal World Trade Center promotes local economic growth and augments international trade and investment for its city. Delivering strategic support for corporate members, tenants, and local businesses to amplify and drive international trade goals.
WTC is a very powerful tool for a real estate developer. And it has that positive factor for the tenants. They're very proud to tell their compatriots, colleagues, oh, here, World Trade Center.
Nearly half a century after the New York World Trade Center created a physical community of global commerce, the association has grown to include more than 300 members across nearly 100 countries.
It's not only the brand, but also it's the way we do business, the way we connect it to other World Trade Centers of the world.
Global recognition, local expertise. WTCA's members have access to hundreds of thousands of relevant business members worldwide.
We have so many different concrete examples of our business people saying, hey, thank you, you've connected me with the right business. Because of your connection with the World Trade Centers, we went directly there and they arranged the meetings.
The passion for me and the association has been because of the people I have met. It is mine.
Believing in the brand, believing in the network, believing in history. The World Trade Center is unique, is powerful, the brand brings that value.
This is the WTCA, creating powerful business opportunity, delivering proven results.
Thank you very much. Huge round of applause for the head of Asia Pacific, Mr. Scott, who is joining us virtually. And next, we have a video of Shri G. Kishore Reddy, the Union Minister of the Government of India. Could you kindly play the AV? Volume to page. And now I request Mr. M Nanda Kishore Reddy, the MD of APT's group, to address the gathering. Heartiest welcome to you, sir. Your presence here means a lot to Hans and WTC and all of us.
Thank you. So good morning all. Hans India Chief Editor Ram Sharma garu, Bizzbuzz Editor Madhusudan Reddy garu, Mr. M Narender garu. I think Lakshmi Shah is yet to arrive, and Vara Prasad Reddy garu, Chairman APTDC, and the participants from IT, Pharma, Agriculture, Ports, and other industries. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to be part of this August Conclave and share my thoughts with you. So this first edition of Bizzbuzz certainly comes at an opportune time, as the next decade is believed to be the defining one for India's industrial growth. So let me start by addressing one question. So what are the key tenets that need to be addressed to enable India's growth trajectory in achieving $5 trillion economy? So out of $5 trillion economy, we are envisaging $3 trillion for service sector, $1 trillion for manufacturing, and $1 trillion for products. So what are the key tenets? Let us answer that. As a nation, both developed and developing nations, if we trade the path of this recovery, there is growing demand for high quality new products and shift away from reliance on single source supply chains. The old adage says, change is the only constant in life. Is quite certain and apt during these uncertain and unprecedented times. And the only way we could sail through this wave is by innovating constantly and expanding our horizons. See, this pandemic was a wake-up call for many of organizations, particularly many industrial organizations. So COVID-19 has accelerated the adoption of digital technologies, much more like work from home culture and all these things. Adoption of new technologies like artificial intelligence, ML, and using all these things, actually how we could cope up sitting in our homes and all these things actually. There has been a gap between the producers and the consumers of, in the entire world actually. Today we are seeing the lack of this chips and all for electronic products. Not only electronic products, actually in many sectors actually we are seeing there is a gap between these production centers as well as consumption centers, and how to fill, because of that physical barriers and all, actually we couldn't fill this gap. So what is the opt-out of this situation? That is what exactly where this World Trade Center chips in. See, World Trade Center, basically they do fill in this gap by creating that synergies between both consumption center as well as supply chain. So they do attract new businesses, in our case, particularly in case of Andhra Pradesh, and boost regional trade and clear focus sectors that are identified. It stimulates economic growth in the region, obviously increases this airport and the service sector, hotel traffic in the state, in line with the vision of our Honorable CM Garu. So increases capabilities of regional trade community, what Vizag is known for. See, World Trade Center, one way actually, definitely it is trying to build up this gap, and what our government of Andhra Pradesh is doing. See, exactly what our thinking, our Honorable CM Gari thinking is also in the same lines as how to build this gap between this both production and consumption centers. What are we doing on this front? So we have modeled our development based on 4 pillars. Investing in future is the first pillar. Second is transforming governance. Third is driving economic growth. And fourth is environmental and social governance. So what do I mean investing in future? See, the government has been investing a lot of its budget basically on the key sectors like education, health, social welfare, agriculture. Even if you see this big Bizzbuzz conference for the next 2 days, the entire conference is lined up in the areas where the state is good at, be it IT or electronics, pharma, ports, logistics, agriculture. All these sectors actually different sessions have been planned on these sectors basically. What AP is good at, so entire 2-day conference we are going to look into the same sectors. So this is what the government of Andhra Pradesh is also doing exactly. So you must be knowing that that Navaratnal schemes and all in education and health, Nadu Nedu programs have been running. And we have been placing largest importance on skill development sectors. We've been placing importance on agriculture. So how to deliver services to the poor people at their own doorsteps is the main motto of our CM Gari vision. So we have created some 15,002 Gram Panchayats and Gram Sachivalayams where 540 services have been delivered across the Gram Sachivalayams through digitally. So here we are talking about like, what earlier I am saying that bridging the gap, actually we can see it in the real world in Andhra Pradesh now. Now coming to IT and electronic sectors. See, what are we focusing on these two fields exactly? Since I am representing AP Technology Services and AP Electronics and IT Agency, so I'll just throw some light on that. So our approach in these two sectors, basically we are focusing on creating infrastructure, that is one. Second, creating processes, putting processes in place, and then putting policies in place, and then what is required for an industry to set up in the state, basically in any state, like skilling and all. So first thing, if you see electronic sector, Andhra Pradesh is the only state that is having 4 electronic manufacturing clusters in entire India. What I mean by electronic manufacturing cluster is actually we have a defined area, so where some acreage has been allocated for only electronic sectors. And here entire internal infrastructure, entire common facility center, entire this testing labs. So whatever is required for the electronic industry, be it assemblers, be it these component manufacturers. So entire thing has been kept in one place so that whoever wants to start an industry there, so they have their backup there. Actually, they need not invest in all these common facilities. So water, power, and all these things have been provided to the doorsteps of that industry, apart from the policies that we have for incentivizing these sectors. So the case in point is recently electronic manufacturing cluster at Kopparthi in Kadapa. So where we have created an industrial park with 540 acres of land with all internal infrastructure like roads, sewage, and power, water, and actually we are also building ready-built factory sheds there. And immediately after that, we can see a surge in electronic investment within this Kopparthi, where already CM Gar has launched this in last December 23rd actually. So within this short frame of 4 months, 6 companies, major companies have started their manufacturing setup there, about to start. In fact, actually there were 4 sheds which given to Dixon and all. They are starting operations in June. Remaining 3, they will be starting in any of next 3 to 4 months. So this is the, how is it, this happened because of, as I said, we have focused on this infrastructure creation, and then we have created one ILA, which is one single point nodal agency, which will give all the permissions, all the required permissions. Whatever permissions are required by the industry, actually, you will definitely you can get at one single point. And we have created one agency called APITA, so which handholds you to entire from starting to your production stages. Even after production also, if you have any issues, so our people will be there to handhold you. So at the same time, so we are also focusing equally on skilling. See, majority of, definitely everybody knows Andhra is the world leader in IT, basically. So majority of workforce in entire world comes from Andhra Pradesh. even though they are working in many demand centers like within India, either Hyderabad, Delhi, or Bangalore, or even outside India also, the majority workforce comes from AP alone. And our friends here, our friends from IT industry here, they said, so we need that finishing school type of thing. Because actually there are many engineering colleges here and many learning centers are also there within AP, but unfortunately most of them have required that finishing skills actually to be placed or to be industry ready. So that's where actually exactly we are working on. We have created 30 skill development colleges in each of these MP constituencies and one skill development university, where we are taken these engineering college graduates and all, we are training them. Whatever skill is required to the industry, we have associated with the industry heads here, and then depending on the industry needs. So whichever vertical they need skilling, actually, we are also asking them to provide course curriculum and instructions also, so that first hand actually they can get people and then they can hire then and there. So not only for this IT sector, electronic sector actually 95% is from the blue collar jobs, which we take from 10th to intermediate classes. So there also entire companies have been roped in. The same process has been chipped in, so that actually the skilling workforce is available. So all these things actually entire 360 degree whatever. So those things actually we are striving to provide to the industry in both the sectors. So and with the advent of this WTC norms and all, definitely MSMEs are the most to be gained, because actually so we are good at some things, and Western countries or somewhere somebody in the world may be in need of those things, but they don't know that exactly from where these things had to be procured. So this is the gap that we are going to fill, definitely with Bizzbuzz conference and all. So this is the point I want to put it upfront, because actually we are both working, both the government of Andhra Pradesh and the WTC norms are their mandate. Actually, we are in sync. So that's why this both IT, electronics and all other MSME sectors will be gained. And if you note that MSMEs, we have started one MSME restart package, where the government has rolled out some close to 3,000 crore in last couple of years. So to incentivize them, basically, to incentivize them in terms of COVID and pandemic situation. So this is what is that we are doing. So in terms of IT, tapping the IT revolution by learning the skills pertinent to them has enabled Indians to occupy around 20% of international IT workforce, which I was talking earlier, and majority of them belong to AP. This proves the mettle of AP youth in terms of acquiring and exhibiting the digital skills across the globe. Having said this, there is also an existing gap in demand-supply scenario, which I have already addressed. So anyway, we'll be discussing in detail in the coming sessions, like in IT and electronic sessions, and also startups also, what we are, the state of Andhra Pradesh is doing for startups. So without elaborating further on that, so I'll congratulate Bizzbuzz for organizing this business conclave at the opportune time and right time, basically immediately after this COVID pandemic. So everybody will be beneficial for this, from this conference. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and congratulations.
Thank you very, very much, Nanda Kishore Garu. It means a lot, and such brief addressing, we didn't expect that. Thank you, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now call upon the chairman of APTDC, Vara Prasad Reddy Garu, our next speaker. Hello, sir. Hearty welcome to you. I hope this designation is correct.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Sri Narendra Garu, Kishore Reddy Garu, Prasad Garu, and Masudan Reddy Garu, Another Vara Prasad Reddy garu, we have confused just now, and my friend Vijay Mohan garu, and friends. It is a very good opportunity to all of us to interact, to know, to invest in the development of Andhra Pradesh. You know, Andhra Pradesh is the 8th largest state in terms of area in India, and also 10th largest state in terms of population, and second highest coastal, 947 kilometers of coastal after the Gujarat. And Andhra Pradesh state is having multiple directions to develop. In terms of tourism, our Honorable Excellency, our Chief Minister, Sri Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy garu, have a lot of vision. He is focusing many tourism projects in Andhra Pradesh. All of you know, after 2 years of pandemic crush, now everybody looking for the tourism. In respect of many things, tourism is not only the entertainment, there is a temple tourism, there is a agri-tourism, there is a eco-tourism, there is a adventure tourism, and there is a wellness tourism, what not. Particularly where we are now, we are in the future capital of the Andhra Pradesh, Visakhapatnam. Our Chief Minister is having a lot of vision, particularly on the first in the Visakhapatnam. And he is planned in such a way, the very huge big projects from Visakhapatnam to and Bhogapuram Airport. And lot of things are coming up, particularly in the Visakhapatnam. And one of the major item in the tourism sector from Visakhapatnam, this is a London Eye-type wheel, which has come from the mouth of our Honorable Chief Minister. It is under process and is already approved also. Apart from that, there is a tunnel aquarium in Visakhapatnam, and also sky tower. These three major attractions is going to come Visakhapatnam, apart from the beach tourism. Just now I mentioned 947 kilometers of costa in Andhra Pradesh. And we can develop hundreds of beach tourisms in the entire coastal. And you know, the foreign tourists particularly, they will attract for the beach tourism. So we are under the process of developing the lot of things. I can't say is this and that, but there is many things we are going to have in future. In another 2 years, you can see. And our Honorable Chief Minister brought a new fantastic tourism policy nowhere in the India. And 2025 tourism policy, if you go through that one, the every bit is attractive to the investor and a friendly tourism policy. Particularly if I say, if we want to establish an anything, is 1% lease on the property. on the land. So nothing, 1% is very, very minimal. And the enhancement of the lease also, it is 5% on every 3 years, not 1 year, it is every 3 years. Like that, many things were incorporated in the 2025 tourism policy. Because of his vision, he want to attract, he want to establish more tourism, and he has said very clearly that Andhra Pradesh రాష్ట్రం పర్యాటకానికి చిరునామా కావాలి అనే ఒక ఆకాంక్ష ఆయన మనసులో నుంచి చెప్పిన మాట అది. ఆ దిశగా we are all working together. I joined as a tourism chairman from last 9 months back, and you know, now our Honorable Chief Minister has given to me the another 2 heads, the dynamic MD Kannababu Garu and also new Minister R.K. Roja. So with our team, definitely within days coming up, we can do wonderful things with the guidance of our Honorable Chief Minister. And also, in the state also, in the central also, you know, our Honorable Kishore Reddy Garu is also there. He is also from Telugu person, and he was expressed his concern to give his helping hand to develop the Andhra Pradesh tourism. He belongs from the Telangana, but as far as the tourism is focus concerned, he has given more than interest than Telangana to the Andhra Pradesh. In fact, he is personally pursuing to land the passenger cruise terminal, passenger cruise in the Visakhapatnam. Once really the berth is getting ready in the port for test, once the communication has, and it is completed, once one cruise ship was landed in the Visakhapatnam port, then thousands of visitors will come and hundreds of business will be increased. You know, you can think about any worldwide where the cruises are landing. Apart from that, we particularly, Andhra Pradesh Tourism Development Corporation, focused mainly on the Gandikota. The Gandikota, we call it as a Grand Canyon of America, and we have a big river there, and government has given 1,200 acres to develop the tourism. We want to develop the film studio there, and we are getting ready the master plan for the 1,200 acres in the Gandikota. In future, you can see Gandikota will be the one of the topmost tourist destination. Maybe we are trying for the World Heritage tag for the Gandikota also, apart from the Lepakshi. Recently, how even Lepakshi has included in the temporary list of the World Heritage tag. And we are also working that to get World Heritage for the UNESCO recognition for the Lepakshi, and also Gandikota. And apart from that, we have east and west districts. We have seen plenty of agri-tourism can be developed there. And we have identified, recently we have given 80 land pieces expression of interest call from the investors. Around 990 acres of land we have kept in the web to invest the investors to come on their own, they can invest there in their respect. There was no particularly this to be developed there, that to be developed there, that is basically mainly interest of the investor. And 80 places, particularly the 990 acres. Apart from that, we have call for the expression of interest for the 13 places adventure water sports in the state. 13 adventure water sports in the state. And also in 13 places land adventures in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And also in the temple tourism, we have a very good temples in state of Andhra Pradesh. And with the help of the Government of India, we are developing 5 temples. There already is some temples are sanctioned under Prasadam scheme, like Simhachalam, So I think time is the limit. Okay, thank you. So there is a lot of things. If I go on tell like this, I can take another 1 hour. Sorry to, I don't want to bother you, but the time, anytime you can come, anytime you can call our tourism department, if whoever is interested to invest in particular in the tourism department. So I'm talking about the temple tourism, like Sri Kalahasti and Simhachalam, Annavaram, and Dwaraka, Tirumala, and Sri Kalahasti. All 5 temples we are developing under the temple tourism. And many other temples also is there. And other day our Minister of the Endowments also expressed his views on developing the temple tourism. Keeping all this in mind, my Chief Minister's vision, and anybody come forward to invest, definitely it is a good place compared to all other states in India. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good day.
Huge round of applause for sir. And yes, Mr. Scott will be joining us virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott is the head of Asia Pacific of WTCA, World Trade Center Association. Can we have Mr. Scott on the main screen?
Mr. Sri M Narendra Garu, the former CMD of Indian Overseas Bank. Sir, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I congratulate Hens India as well as the Bizzbuzz for organizing this business conclave for a period of 2 days in an important state as well as a city, Andhra Pradesh at Visakhapatnam. And I understand that
global network
to take this to other important cities too, because it is the vision of our Prime Minister of India, sometime announced in 2019, that India should achieve $5 trillion economy by 2024-25. Of course, India took more than 6 to 8 years to reach a $2 trillion economy, and later again took another 6 years to reach almost nearing to $3 trillion economy, $2.7 trillion economy. Unfortunately, in the same year 2019-20, India's growth rate came down to as less than 4%. And over and above that, all of you are aware, this COVID came and wave 1 or wave 2 and the last one. In the year 2020-21, for the first time, India had a negative growth rate of 7.5%. And thereby, even to the 2.7 or whatever trillion, that dollar economy, we gave a negative contribution.
trade and economic
And the subsequent, of course, India had a very fast recovery, and it is expected that India would have registered 9.2% growth rate in spite of the wave or the delta, whatever the next wave, all that. So that is the resistance and the resilience of the Indian economy, and particularly the Indian people and the Indian entrepreneurs who, irrespective of that, because the first one had a lockdown, but the later it was managed in such a way, it is had a least impact on the economy. So that growth rate has been good. But unfortunately, again, in the current circumstance, all of you are aware that the the Ukraine and Russian war and the consequent increase in all commodity prices, and also the food products and the oil product, and oil going even up to $139 per barrel. And the other side, US as well as in European Union, the inflation going very high. First time in US, inflation is almost nearing 8%. And in Europe also it is almost 7.5%. Whereas their target for inflation is 2%. So all along they played with the low interest rate. And in fact, in some countries, even today in Japan, it is a negative interest rate. So with that inflation outlook, and the first time the US increased the interest rate recently, and it is expected, that is 0.25 basis, and it is expected that this year they will have aggressive interest rate increase, and in order to have an impact of the inflation on the economy, and at the same time they have to maintain the growth rate. So that had an impact on Indian economy. In fact, one is the oil imports will have a big drain on our foreign exchange reserves. Similarly, as the US increases the interest rate, our portfolio investors' money which has been coming to our capital market, in the recent days, it has shown what you call outflow, and that you have seen. But for the domestic investors, large retail investors, money, mutual fund support, and the domestic financial institutions and other bigger investor support, our capital market is still, other than the volatility, it is still having a buoyancy. But itself was a great, actually, miracle. In a way, people have made good money. But in the recent days, our forex reserves, which were more than $640 billion, have come down. And it was for 18 months of imports, now it has come to almost around 12 months of imports. So in order to meet this type of volatility, we need a large forex resource, and that's how the Reserve Bank of India, in the over a period of time, built up quite a lot of forex reserves, and our forex reserves were equivalent to the external debt. Around 528 billion US dollars was the external debt overall. So to that extent, we are covered. But if the oil goes on an average 110 US dollar per barrel, and it doesn't come the estimated level of $75 per barrel as per the budget latest, that is 2021 or 22-23, on that basis the budget has been worked out, then that will have a big impact on our current account deficit. All of you are aware that once Indian current account deficit went beyond 4% or almost 5%, and we had to, our Reserve Bank governor that time, I think our Raghuram Rajan, we raised 30 billion US dollars from the foreign, our what you call NRIs and all, by way of giving them some incentives in putting them in India, and that helped the economy and also the managing our forex and volatility in the exchange rate management. And from that day we have come a long way. That was maybe in 2013-14. So when this interest rate as well as the accommodative policy of the US and elsewhere of purchasing the government securities and releasing lot of money, which normally finds market in emerging markets because they get a return. Now if that get reversed, then naturally our funds outflow will be on an accelerated phase. And it has come in a time when otherwise there is also what you call oil and commodity price, because we are importers of oil and we have alternate energy have been all been done, but it is having a very lesser share in the overall requirement of our energy requirements. So this is the one risk to the vision of reaching 5 trillion economy. And even though the government in the last 2-3 years have focused more on CAPEX, you are aware in the budget 2021, 5.5 lakh crores on CAPEX. That is again increased to 7.5 lakh crores in the 22-23. More than that, in the earlier period, 15,000 support for state government CAPEX, which increased to now 1 lakh crore of a long-term loan, 99 years of repayment without any interest, so that the state government also will take up CAPEX more or investment in a greater speed, because that has got a multiplier impact other than giving employment and also reaching into other ancillary and subsidiary industries. So these investments are primarily going in, one is infrastructure spending. You are aware that India, under our vision, we have 114 lakh crores of infrastructure spending, primarily energy, roads, as well as the other the railways, and providing infrastructure in the airports, port. So this will, that's how, when we concentrate on that, automatically steel industry will improve, core industry, cement will improve, your real estate also, real estate sector also, construction sector also will improve. So the one area of this national infrastructure pipeline, and in the recent budget, the government Prime Minister vision of Gati Shakti of 100 crores of 16 ministries, all the projects were interlinked so that they get the data and other benefits, and the delay in project implementation can be reduced, because more than 438 projects of around 4.5 I think lakh crores had a cost overrun in spite of the monitoring this project, and the cost overrun will have a drain on our very precious resources. So that is infrastructure is another important. Similarly, the production linked incentive scheme, the first was the 13 sectors, very important sectors, and followed by in the recent budget, the drone manufacturing as well as your solar module, and 1.97 lakh crores of the incentive to these industries. And the idea is to invite multinational as well as the domestic industries to put up large manufacturing hub. It has been our endeavor that India has to become a manufacturing hub as that of the China. And you know that China has been having some difficulties, and that's why most of these MNCs are looking at India also as a destination, even though we were not up to the mark in inviting them. So the present share of our manufacturing is only 16%. It has to reach to a level of 20%. So I think the equal emphasis has been given in place like Andhra Pradesh also, and I understand in all the pharmaceuticals, in chemicals or in service sector and other tourism and other various industries of local industries also, the state government is focusing, because the $5 trillion economy cannot happen without the active participation of the state government. So one area, another is ease of doing business. So the overall, we should remove the rules, and the India's standing improved substantially, almost nearing, I think, 60, and we are having a plan to come below 50, and the government has been scrapping quite a lot of rules, and single window clearance for the project, the earlier the better. That's why now each state is competing with other states in inviting foreign institutional investors to India. You are aware in the 2021, India had the highest, or 21-22 I think, highest $81 billion of foreign direct investment. But in the recent days, that has been slowed down. So unless we have around 160 billion of foreign investment, reaching 5 trillion economy becomes difficult. So we have to, both the states and center, have to, like already our dignitaries mentioned, have to invite in all sectors, and the reforms in the sector, like in the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Prime Minister and a Finance Minister opened up various sectors, like today commercial mining and airport privatization, or even the massive disinvestment, the strategic and non-strategic sectors, and even in the strategic sectors, not more than 4. That's how today even we are hearing 2 public sector banks will be privatized, 1 general insurance company will be privatized, and even though the disinvestment receipts have been little slow, because it takes quite a lot of time, and this year again around, I think LIC IPO is the major the disinvestment, followed by the banks disinvestment, and the Container Corporation of India, Shipping Corporation of India, like that. And even I think they have the plan to HPCL also, or BPCL, or whatever, one of them, HPCL I think. So in all that, because that resources also needed. The another important is asset monetization scheme. The government now, if the center does the asset monetization, there is an equal opportunity in the state, even in the disinvestment as well as asset monetization. There are quite a lot of state level public enterprises which the government has to reduce their share and open it to the private, because the hidden value which can be encashed in the central public sector undertaking as well as the state level public sector undertaking has been gigantic, and it is necessary that we have to invite private sector. That's why our Prime Minister in the Parliament said that the private sector creates value for the industry. We have to value their contribution, and that's how, because government cannot go on spending. You are all aware that due to the COVID, the fiscal deficit of the center has reached almost nearing 9%, and later now around 6.8%, and we are aiming at 4.5% by 2024-25. It is a gigantic task. Again, because with the oil and other things, our fiscal deficit also will go up. And if the government may not have much space to invest in these infrastructure, today the majority of the growth is due to the government expenditure. The private sector has been coming around 30% of their contribution, but the capacity utilization is not more than 65%. Now the private consumption has to go up, and the private sector investment will have to find the necessity to create more capacity, and that's why the PLI sector have been opened where there is scope to create more capacity. And another important that in a period of, best period, our investment to the GDP went up to 39%. Today it has come down to 33%. Similarly, the private sector, your what you call savings will have to also go up. These are all the drivers for our what you call $5 trillion US economy. One important factor is the India's export reached 420 billion US dollars for the first time. Maybe that it had a cumulative some felt demand, but our export has been exceedingly well, and we have a plan of reaching $1 trillion of merchandise export. $250 billion of our service export, which also need to go up to maybe 500 billion US dollars. So export has also one of the driver of achieving $5 trillion US economy. Now, the current latest risk is the inflation. Then elsewhere what we find the US in terms of rate increase and the money outflow. All this also should result in equity. In a way, the growth is very important, but our per capita income one time has come down below the even near to the Bangladesh also. We are less than that. So unless the people at the bottom level feel that their life pattern or their saving or their what you call their business or living has gone up. So if India has to achieve a GDP growth of on an average 9%, we can achieve the $5 trillion US economy by 2028. So as against 24-25, it has been now postponed. But in the worst case scenario, it may be 2030. But it is definitely essential that India cannot afford in an average growth rate of 5%. If we do not take all these steps, the growth rate will be at 5% average, which will definitely affect the common man. And in spite of that, we don't have employment fully, nor the employability. So the growth has to reach in resulting employment. The other side, there is a digitalization. The digitalization itself will be contributing $1 trillion US to Indian economy. So the digitalization, whether that will reduce the employment opportunity, that is a debatable issue. But definitely industry is also going for Industry 4. The automation, robotic and other methods of technology will replace definitely in terms of the employment ability. But that will enhance the productivity and that will enhance our competitiveness in the global world and that will increase our exports. So in the Atmanirbhar, there are more than 1,100 products where we are unnecessary importing. And these imports has to be substituted by domestic innovation and creativity. One more important area of contributing to $5 trillion US economy is startup. And this conference also has a focus on startup because, of course, in the sector, pharmaceuticals very important. Similarly, in the startup ecosystem, the number of unicorn we are adding every quarter. Like this quarter itself, I think we are adding more than 20. So we have crossed 100 unicorns already. So the startup also is giving employment and they are disrupting bigger companies. So the market valuation of the older company vis-a-vis the new company, you have seen in the recent IPO. Of course, some are not stable. So they have to necessarily, of course, recently we are hearing some corporate governance issue also in the startup. So that has to be also ensured. So friends, I think the time factor must be there, but we have a large opportunity here, and we have also good opportunity to increase in terms of all this contribution. And one more important is the climate change. And with the climate change, we have to now necessarily work on all areas where emission norms can be reduced. And the other side, the corporates have to also adopt ESG, that is environment, social and governance. And the opportunity here to get blue or what you call sustainable finance or raise money for green economy is very much there. So India has to focus on the climate change, and we must reach the target of 2030. And of course, the longer one is 2070, but the 2030 we are signatories to that, and we must achieve that. I think this conference, what we are really focusing on the Andhra Pradesh related some of the sectors, and again expanding this to other cities to reach the potential of Andhra Pradesh, so that, because I saw Andhra Pradesh has grown by around 11.1% in GDP, as against the industry average of 8.9. And the Andhra Pradesh per capita income also has gone up. So in terms of that, this has worked for India. Only thing is the state and central government, like government this year is borrowing 15 lakh crore borrowings, central government, and state government may be borrowing 8 lakh crores of borrowing. This type of borrowing government cannot sustain. And during the COVID, government had to spend on health, and in spite of that, we have found quite a lot of pressure on the health facilities. So there is a need for focusing on the social sector, that is health, education, water supply, drainage, and the government is focusing that we can increase our fiscal deficit from 4 to 4.5% for the state, provided you focus on these are the priority sectors of reforms. In the state level also, there is a need for lot of reforms. Another threat we are now facing is power sector reform, power sector shortage. One is power sector per se, particularly the public distribution system, or the discoms are not in a good shape. In spite of giving very lot of benefits, they are not in a good shape. Over and above that, there is a shortage of coal availability, and there is maybe that year also, I don't know, would not have done, but in some states now they are already putting cut for industrial use. Now if you have to achieve the industrial corridor and industrial growth, we need a lot of power. So the alternative the nuclear power, or because the coal per se will contribute to a climate problem, but we cannot avoid totally. But the other solar, wind, biomass and other power, the contribution per se is very less. So this is another threat which we have to overcome, maybe temporary. There is the railway, distribution methodology should increase, the wagon should be available. And during the COVID, we found quite a lot of problems in logistics. The supply chain management got into domestically and internationally also. I was told the container cost per freight itself has gone up, and the container supplies are only from China, and there is a shortage. So in order to improve our exports, we have to improve our domestic logistics management, and that has to be in line with the international standards. So there is a lot of work to be done, both by the center and states, and unless our entrepreneurs, people, all of us get involved in this process of bringing $5 trillion economy at the earliest, we will be left behind. In a way, even though India will remain as the third largest economy for the world, but India has to move from the middle income country to the developed country, for which we have to have a large investment, we have a large private consumption, and we have to have a large private investment, and we must see everybody gets the benefit of this growth. That is why the growth with equity. Thank you very much.
Huge round of applause for our keynote speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Narendra Garu, the former CMD of Indian Overseas Bank. And yes, I think, sir, with that, we have finished the, all the protocols of the inauguration. And I request a small token of appreciation, memento, to be given to all our esteemed guest of honors. Thanks to our keynote speaker and thanks to Naresh Garu, Narendra Garu, Nanda Kishore Garu. Thank you to our keynote speaker, Narendra Garu. And yes. All right. So we will be opening it for Q&A for the beginning of this, whatever we have witnessed right now. Any questions while our keynote speakers and other guests of honors are here? No? All right. So we'll quickly jump into the sessions of the day. Sir, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.